It is truly my pleasure to welcome you here today, to have the chance to say the first remarks here in person at MESA 2021. Just the fact that we're in person is such a pleasure. So I can't think of a better reason personally to be pried out of my home office than MESA 2021. This is my favorite event of the year. I don't know about many of you, but I've heard this same comment from others. I stared at my clothes in my closet for probably 4 hours, assuming they were going to magically jump into my bag. I've completely forgotten how to be a professional, so please excuse me if I fumble a little bit here. But I'm really honored to be here today and to welcome you and to kick it off for Janet in just a moment. By all measures, we're here because of a triumph in biotechnology, the COVID vaccine. I mean, if you think about that, in 1 year, we went from that technology being a message to being a medicine. It's a phenomenal step, and it's proof pudding that the science that underlies what we do is working. It's powerful, incredibly powerful. Since our last meeting, our sector has experienced exponential growth. In fact, it continues, I guess you'd say, to experience exponential growth in cell and gene therapy. Just a couple statistics since the last meeting. Last year, there was $20 billion in capital raised for our sector, and this year is on track to meet that same number, which is an astounding number. There have been 25 IPOs this year, 5 just in the last week or so that have registered. So it continues to be a really exciting space for the investor and for capital raise. But, you know, it's interesting that we did see a cooling off period, what I would call a cooling off period this summer, that summer's often slower. People want to go on vacation, but there was definitely a slowdown in the way that companies were financed and the way companies moved along. And that, it's picking up again. As I said, 5 companies registered just last week. But that slowdown, some would attribute to some of the headwinds we've seen in the field. Some of the safety signals, like in many of the platform technologies that we're all developing, like the events in the AAV field or Lenti or the CAR-T field. And I would personally say that all that proves is that finance is fickle, but science is not. That finance is affected by these headwinds. That if anything, headwinds drive us to work harder. When you venture into the unknown, like we all do here, you make discoveries. You even encounter obstacles, and you study them, and you learn, and you improve, and that's called the scientific method. We all stand on the shoulders of the people that have come before us, and that's how we make each other better. So we see that happening in real time here with all these different platforms. And by all measures, it's working. I mean, just look at the first that we've seen this year, if you just rattle them off. Things like really a compelling example of in vivo editing for the first time with CRISPR-Cas, or the mRNA vaccines, or the advances in the CAR-T field. There's many different examples where we've seen dramatic advances, and it's exciting. And by all measures, we're on track to have a watershed year in approvals this year. We have 18 decisions expected for regenerative medicine and advanced therapies this year in 6 different geographies. 10 of those 18 are new products that have never been approved before. So we have 10 new products in front of the regulators. That's on track to be the most banner, the record-setting year. The record was 9 in 2016. So, and in particular, the engineered cell therapies sector is seeing a really, the potential for a banner year. We have 4 that have already reached approval, and the potential for a record in that subsector. So we're starting to see these therapies reach patients and reach the market and to the patients who desperately need them. But to me, the most important standout statistic when I was looking through and was trying to decide what I wanted to say today is that there were 2 products approved so far this year that are a direct result of RMAT designation. The first 2 products approved based on RMAT. That is a direct result of your efforts and ARM's efforts over many years to get 21st century cures both written and approved and implemented. So that's a direct result of what you do here. It's meaningful and it's worthwhile. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us for this week. I personally have never been more convinced, as I'm sure you are, of the power of what we do and that it's worthwhile and meaningful. So thank you. And Janet, I think I would like to invite you to the stage.
Thanks, Emile. I'm Janet Lambert, and I'm the CEO of the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine, and let me just second my Emile's welcome and say it's really fantastic to see you in person and to be able to bring the community here together. Since the last time we were able to do it in 2019, as Emile said, a lot has happened in the sector in that time, scientifically, clinically, from a policy point of view, from a business development point of view. I don't think we can do justice to all that has happened in the past, but we have certainly tried to put together a program for you to touch on a number of the key aspects of the field today. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk about the work that ARM is doing to advance the sector. So I hope you'll have a chance to join us for that. On Thursday morning, I'm going to introduce you to the first class of Grow Regen Med interns. This is a new internship program that ARM launched with the full support of the board to place Black graduate and undergraduate paid interns into ARM member organizations. This was the first summer we were able to do it, and there are 17 Grow interns among us here over these next few days. So I hope you have a chance to meet them and hear a bit about the program on Thursday, and we hope that you'll consider being a part of our effort to enhance the diversity of the cell and gene therapy community. But with that said, let me just give you a little bit of a preview of what we have in store for you for the next couple of days. We've got sessions that will address major disease areas and the progress that's being made. Those include sickle cell, cardiovascular, and the opening panel here today in oncology. We're going to focus on some of the key challenges of the field, and you'll see expert panels on both dosing and delivery of gene therapies. Manufacturing obviously continues to be a focus of many of our efforts, and we've brought together a terrific panel to talk about the current state of the decision companies are making with regard to make versus buy manufacturing. We always seek to integrate the patient voice into this meeting, and this year we've got two sessions, one in which you could hear lessons learned from one of the first gene therapies in the market and how they worked with their patient community as part of that product introduction, and a second on the information that patients and their caregivers are really looking for from cell and gene therapy companies. I think we all think we get that right, but we've gotten some insight through our affiliated foundation about what patients really want, and there'll be a session on that for you. Emile mentioned the record amounts of funding that have poured into our sector of late, and we'll have a panel discussion from some of the leading investors in our field about what they're looking for now in regenerative medicine. We have two groups of practitioners for some of the key challenges of this space, both a panel on regulatory dynamics these days, and also what is the real situation on the ground? What have folks really in the trenches of seeking reimbursement for the first wave of cell and gene therapies finding, and what can you learn from it? Of course, it wouldn't be 2021 without some virtual content, and we're sorry that we couldn't be joined this year by Dr. Peter Marks, the head of CBER at the US FDA, who usually joins us in person. But we were able to record an interview with him just a week or so ago, so a timely interview that's available for all of you to listen to. We also had a recorded session with Carrie Wallenetz, who leads the life sciences team at the Office of Science and Technology Policy. As I'm sure all of you know, OSTP is now a cabinet-level organization led by a leading scientist in our field, Eric Lander. They are building out a life sciences and healthcare team there, the likes of which OSTP has never had before. So we asked her what they're trying to accomplish with that team and how it might affect us. To supplement all of these panel discussions, you'll see in your program that there are some terrific early morning workshops for those of you who may be on another time zone or just early birds by nature. There are a number of really good offerings before the main session starts. So I hope you'll be able to take advantage of all of that, along with just the chance to be together and to share the remarkable progress that we have made over the last 2 years, and to join forces in tackling those challenges that still remain for the field. It's really a pleasure to be here with you, and it's an honor to be able to work at ARM and try to collectively advance the whole sector. So with that, let me turn it over to the moderator of our next session, Oz Azam, the CEO of Community Therapeutics and the ARM Vice Chairman. Thanks, Oz.